So before we get started this evening, I just wanted to, for many of you, this may be your first police commission meeting, and so I just want to go over how our police commission meetings generally run, so folks have an understanding. Generally, in a moment, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll have a variety of agenda items that we'll go over this evening. One of the first things that we will allow folks to do is to provide any public comment that they may have. If you're interested in speaking, there's a sign-up sheet on this small little table up here at the front. I do ask if you can keep your comments to 2.5, 3 minutes to be able to make sure that we give everybody a chance to speak. After that is over, we'll go into some of our reports from the chief and any old business we may have, or and then any new business. This evening in particular, we do have a couple of police complaints that have been received just in the past month or so, and so we'll be reviewing those. Those will be done in executive session, where we'll go ahead and exit to go into one of our conference rooms, and those that filed the complaint will have a chance to talk to. And again, this evening, the commission and I don't necessarily plan to come back and have any things that we plan on voting on, and so just so folks know that as well. And so that is how we're going to run this evening. And so I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's about 4:08, and first thing on our agenda is to go ahead and see if there's anyone that would like to speak. And so if you'd like to speak into a microphone, you can do so over there. If you'd like to just stand up and vocalize, that's okay too. I'm just going to grab the list over here.
Can you speak into a microphone?
I can.
My hearing's not that great.
That's fine. But I'm going to just wait until after the public speaking. And so if Amy would like to come up and speak, the microphone is available over there.
My name is Amy Trumpeter. I work in Kingston at the A.J. Williams Myers African Roots Library. I'm part of the Indigent Crow Action Network. I work with the Barred Prison Initiative at Woodburn and Eastern Corrections. I have a written statement here. As it now stands in Kingston, the civilian complaint process against unlawful or inappropriate police treatment actually deters members of the Kingston community from issuing a complaint about a specific member of the Kingston Police Department. Knowledge of this, along with the estimated statistics of perhaps hundreds of unrecorded complaints annually, comes through what we the public consider dependable neighborhood testimonials, informal religious congregational word of mouth, and public outcry from a few brave souls at recent Kingston police forums. In the light of two recent police encounters, which will be described by others this evening, one with Adrian Broadhead for allegedly resisting arrest, the other with Fabian Marshall for allegedly obstructing governmental administration, we demand the creation of a community policing model that works for Kingston. As per the city charter, a commission is now appointed by the mayor with the authority to set departmental practices in recruiting, hiring, promoting, and disciplining, all in accordance with statutory authority, and to make recommendations back to the same mayor who appointed them and the chief of police regarding practices, procedures, policy, and planning. And we thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Steve Noble, Mayor, Brad Jordan, Commissioner Steve Grossman, Junius Harris, Rita Worthington, and DGO Tinty. An effective policing community model should be appointed by the community and should include a majority of publicly appointed members of the community as a civilian oversight board. And in addition to beginning the work of establishing such a review board, I support immediate procedures advocated by Citizen Action, conduct investigation into all cases in which a department member discharges his or her firearm, stun gun, or taser in a manner which potentially could strike an individual even if no allegation of misconduct is made, systematically review reports and footage to conduct investigations into complaints against members of the department concerning domestic violence, excessive force, coercion, and verbal abuse, even if if no allegation of misconduct is made, and investigate the conduct of members of the department concerning any investigative category, excessive force, sexual misconduct, false arrest, or illegal search or seizure, and/or committed another civil rights violation, even in the absence of a civilian complaint, when based on information and belief. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up on our list is Marco Ochoa. Marco.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Marco Ochoa, and I'm one of the leaders in the Hispanic community in the area. I'm glad to live in this city, and I've been working before with Mayor Noble and Chief Tinti. I appreciate what they do and how hard they work for the community. Today is one of those times that my community is getting afraid and scared because of the new administration that we got, and also all those videos that we've seen about police brutality and things, and they are worried about these things are happening in Kingston. I told them, my community, that I would come and express themselves and tell them, what is the feeling in our community. And one of the things that I addressed before to the mayor and also to Tinti is about having more police that they speak our language. Not just that they speak the language, that because us, from where we come from, we don't trust police. We are afraid of police because or they kill you, or they rob you, or they kill you. So sometimes when we get stopped by police, we already got that thing behind us that we get nervous because police, we can trust the police for where we come from. And when the police approach, sometimes the police speaks hard on us. So we get nervous and we think that we're going to get killed. I've been trying to talk to the community and tell them that, we got to trust the police, and I myself trust them. But that's one of the big concerns. And the other one is that because of that trust is not good enough, sometimes crimes don't get reported. And sometimes, at least a couple times that people told me about it, they report a crime, and at the end, they almost get arrested because they don't trust when they give the statement. So at this point, we definitely looking forward for somebody that speaks our language and will understand our background, so that way we communicate with the city better. And we are here, the same as everybody else, and we try to do our share. And we're willing to work with everybody, and I appreciate that you give me the chance to talk to you. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Callie Jane.
Good evening. I would like to first start just by thanking the Police Commission for moving this meeting into this location, to a place that is more accessible to members of the community. I think it's very important and a step towards transparency. I also want to just continue to say that I spent the weekend talking to members of the community who have expressed concerns of police brutality, use of excessive force, and other challenges. And while many of those people have filed police complaints, the majority of them are afraid to. And I'm very, very grateful for Amy starting this off by talking about ways that other cities have done this in terms of the demands of that we are hoping that we can move forward in the Police Commission. But I also want to say that this is not just something that needs to be done on paper. We need to look at a whole bigger picture of what we need to do to ensure that every single person in our city feels safe, and that when they're walking down the street, they are not bullied, pushed, and violently attacked, and to ensure that victims of this police brutality do not then have police officers knocking on their door the next day after filing a complaint, and to ensure that when people file complaints, they get a phone call back from someone who might not be in the police department, and then get that phone call back before a community organization reaches out on their behalf. And I'm glad that we are all in this room. And as a community organizer, having listened to these stories in my city, I need you to understand that there is something wrong and that something needs to be changed. Because we have people here who are scared to call the police, who are scared to walk down the street, and the power in a badge and in a gun and in a taser and in pepper spray is destroying the feeling of safety of people of color in this community. And I hope you take that seriously. And as we move forward tonight and we speak about some of the official complaints that have come in, I want you to keep in mind that there are dozens of people in this city who are too afraid to file a complaint because of the way that the system is currently set up. And that is a problem. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Jamie Lovato.
Hi, thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you this afternoon. My name is Jamie Lovato. I am a member of the LGBTQ community for racial justice and a member of Citizen Action. For several years now, we as a nation have been watching videos of police abuse from around the country, and I really had thought that our community here was better than that. We've been having community policing forums and really talking with each other and working on this, but unfortunately we now know that police brutality is a reality right here in Kingston. And as Callie said, we have members of our community, actually including myself, who really have to think twice before considering whether to call the police. You know, if we're in a situation where you worry if calling the police is going to cause more harm than benefit, that is really a scary thing. That means people are not reporting crimes. That means people are really weighing certain situations, and we need a police force that is trusted by the community, and right now we do not have that. Video evidence shows Kingston police officers abusing their power by disrespecting residents, physically abusing them, and then charging them with crimes. We need the police officers to treat residents with respect and dignity. It should not be that hard to avoid beating up and tasing members of our community. It's just completely unacceptable. You know, I just think about, we have all interacted with people who are having a really bad day, maybe give us a really bad attitude, are rude or inconsiderate. That happens, but like, I've never beat somebody up because they mistreated me verbally or had a bad attitude with me. And any other employee of the city or the county would be in big trouble. If they would be fired if they beat somebody up because somebody gave them a bad attitude. We need to have the same standards for our police force. So we need really clear action on this immediately. Thank you so much.
So that's the last person I had signed up on the sheet. Is there anyone that came in late that didn't have a chance to sign up that would like to speak at this time?
I'm glad we're having a meeting. I'm glad it's well attended. I'm glad you guys are paying attention. A lot of people are scared. You're starting to hear that. The impression that I'm getting from talking to people is that people feel like in Midtown, the police do what they want, how they want, period. If you don't like it, you're going to get thrown on the ground, tased, beaten, arrested. No one should ever be arrested for resisting arrest without another arrestable criminal offense. If somebody's getting a ticket and they end up in jail for resisting arrest, that's how you know that the cop made a mistake. Those arrests should not happen. They should never happen.
Personally. So right now you've got some people that are interesting. So right now you got some people that are. Oh yeah. Hello. Nope. So right now you got people who are scared. and you got people who are angry.
That ratio is going to shift if this isn't handled. So before you have only people who are scared and a lot of people who are angry, you should probably figure out how to do this differently.
Seeing no one else. One more? We'll do one more, okay?
Hi, I'm Erica Marin. I just wanted to amplify the idea that I think it would really help a lot if the police commission would automatically review any footage or audio recording we have of any incident where a police officer is using a taser, a gun, or pepper spray, because that would remove this requirement that people make a complaint before a civilian review board is looking at it. I think that would help a lot. So I just wanted to amplify that suggestion. Thank you.
One more.
Go over there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission members. My name is Hector Rodriguez. I am Ulster County Legislator for New Paltz. I'm going to be very, very brief. I know you have to get to the heart of the matter. It's troubling to me as a native of Ulster County to see the images that we can see. Because I think we've always assumed, maybe that was a poor assumption, but that we've assumed that if you're minding your own business, you'll be okay. If you haven't committed a crime, you'll be okay. And I'm not here to prejudge the events that have happened, but at the very least, we now as a community don't feel safe and we don't feel okay. And even if you are not actively engaged in a crime, you may still be harassed, you may still be harmed. And that's troubling. It's deeply, deeply troubling. As you all know, we actually had our budget hearing last night at the county, and we've got in our county budget this year a restorative justice center. And that's, I think, a key thing, I think, for all of us to keep in mind, that we're finally sort of beginning to address the issues that are within our communities. Concepts like restorative justice are where things are headed. Quite honestly, they're things where we should have been at already, but it's clearly where we are headed. And I think that it is a movement that is happening all around the county, whether it is here in Kingston, whether it is in New Paltz, whether it is in a host of different communities. And it is really my hope that the members here of this commission will, while I understand that we all represent different departments and ideologies, and that we want to look out for our personnel as well as the community and balance that, we have to make these decisions with our eyes wide open. And that's my hope. Thank you.
Two more.
Leave this over there.
Hi, just like a couple of things. First, I'd like to say that I find it personally, and it could just be, it could be in the charter, I'm not really sure, but I find it a little disturbing that the actual dispensation of these complaints is done behind closed doors in executive session. Every other type of decision or matter that's before a city, department, an agency, or legislative body is done in public, in full accountability to the citizens. This seems like a pretty serious flaw in the design that you'd be handing these complaints in executive session. So that's the first thing I think to say. Secondly, just as not even talking about the incidents themselves, but a problem that I think is contributing to these issues, especially in Midtown, is the DDAX, the data-driven policing method that is done for grant money. there was an area of the city that was determined to need increased police presence and increased enforcement, and the data, it isn't justified. That's not justified. And so then when you have this zone, like this red zone, literally outlined in red, like something out of a history book of systemic racism, you are creating a culture where a young man walking home from work with a can of beer in a bag is stopped when he should be stopped. There should have been no police interaction whatsoever on that day. You could have had a Monster soda in that bag. Why is he being stopped? Because he's in Midtown, which is a PDAC zone, which is, again, not justified by the data. Have email statistics and breakdown of why it's not justified, but there is not, the crime's been going down in that area for the past 5 years. So they don't need more police presence. So thank you.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, it's am I?
Back.
This one? Okay. Hello, good evening. I just wanted to say, and I know Chief Tinty always wants to be responsive to community needs, which is why I'm here, because I believe when we show up that Chief Tinty wants to do what's right by our community, so thank you, sir, for your work. I have to say that watching the most recent video that was posted online of the young man who was tased made me ashamed to live in the city of Kingston. As a tax-paying resident, as someone who wants everybody in our community to be happy and healthy and safe, I found it deeply disturbing. And I wanted to show up here this evening to voice my support for this review process, to say that I think it needs to be far more thorough. And I want to live in a city where we can trust our cops and know that when we call them when we need help, that they're going to show up there to support us, and that if we're walking down the street or standing on the side of the road, we're not going to be unduly harassed. And so I just wanted to lift that up today. As somebody who's a community faith leader, and as somebody who is a city resident and who lives in Midtown. So thank you.
All right. Seeing no one else jumping up, we're gonna move on to our meeting at this point. So up first, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Chief, are any communications for the last month? Okay. No communications at this point. Chief, do you have a report at all or something to share?
Yeah, quickly. So quickly, as some of the speakers have mentioned, our efforts in the police department don't go. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? All right, well, some of the efforts in the police department are, we actually asked that the community contribute. One of the most recent was that members of Engine, I believe, we thank them. They provided funding to send 2 of our officers to the Undoing Racism workshop. My direct contact with them was Peter Heyman. I don't know if Peter's here, but also Tracy Gibbons-Hunter, myself, and the deputy chief that attended the appetizer version of it, if you will, and held at the LGBTQ Center in Kingston. And we found to be great interest to us, and funding is always an issue, and they felt so strongly that they were going to raise enough money to send 2 of our officers in October. And this is just a form that was completed to show that they were very, very pleased with the officers and how they opened up there with this 3-year program. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any old business at this point? No old business. For new business, one thing that I just wanted to mention to the commissioners, over the last few weeks, I have gotten a lot of communications from many of our residents and a couple of different community groups encouraging, as you heard tonight, for us to look at some of our policies and procedures and how we could potentially better improve our handling of complaints and handling of, again, trying to make it more transparent. Even a few years ago, we didn't have complaint forms, and but there's ways that I think that we can still improve. And so what I'd ask is that, I'd like to go through that list, over the next few weeks to see, some of the things that being requested are already being done, by the police department, and I'd like to provide that to all of you. I'd also like to take the opportunity to go through which of those we can actually accomplish and get done. And I think that there are some achievable outcomes on there that I think we can do that I think that will help, with our community policing model that we have here at Kingston. And I think that, there are some things that we may want to add that, haven't been requested that, we may be able to do. One of the things that I was just thinking that I think would help with our own procedures is over the years, it hasn't necessarily been part of the police commission's duties to actually formally rule, if you will, when we receive these complaints. We often, meet and talk about these cases. We then talk about the individual who filed the complaint form, and if no disciplinary charges are filed against the officer, the complaint just ends, and there's no real follow-up by the commission in terms of a written decision. And I think that those are a type of thing that I think could help improve, just our process of explaining this to the public. And so, with all of that, if it's okay with the commissioners, I'd like to be able to, review all of that information and come up with a game plan to provide to all of you at our next meeting next month. Okay. So that's my only new business item. The other items that we have to discuss is 3 different complaints that we received. One previously that is still in process, and the 2 most recent complaints that we received in the last month since our last meeting. And so those, what I would ask is for us to review those in executive session as it's dealing with personnel matters.
Excuse me, Mayor Noble.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that both Adrian and Fabian are happy to have the people in the room that are in the room to go through this entire process. When we went through this process with another group, we were able to stay in the room, some additional community members, and we want to ensure that the community is able to see the full process of how this complaint is handled, so that they're able to see exactly what is happening, because we have recently received phone calls saying that complaints were essentially identified and reviewed by this police commission and found to not have violated any policies or procedures. So both Adrian and Fabian would like for this entire room to be able to stay here during this process. Thank you.
Well, the thing that we have to do for our police commission is that because we're talking about the actions of specific officers, it is a disciplinary, discussion, again, related to personnel matters, and so it does need to be an executive session. If you or a representative would like to attend with one Fabian or one of the other interviewees, we can go ahead and we can allow that. But again,
and are there guidelines for executive session? Because we had several community members in when we did another police commission. So the way that it was formed at that moment.
Yourself.
And another community member, yes. And the way we were informed is that as long as the people who were forming the complaints were okay with those folks in the room, then they could move forward. And so I'm not sure the difference between personnel issues with 2 people in the room or personnel issues with 40 people in the room. And I'm not sure if there are any policies that specifically say the number of people that are allowed in the room. But I know that every single person in this room, if you are able, please stand. If you would like to know exactly how these complaint processes go down, please stand if this is what you would like to see.
Yeah, and again, we won't be able to talk about any of the procedures or actions of our own police officers. And so
that's not transparency.
Again, we have a process, and just like any municipal employee, if there was a complaint against them, we cannot talk about that or deal with that outside of executive session, or we'll bring our own state protocol and procedure. If Fabian would like to start this evening and tell his side of the story, again, we don't have any executive session, with him. Unless the commissioners disagree. We just can't talk about the actions of our own officers, and so it can be a one-sided discussion. If that's what everyone would like, I do feel like it's important, or what everyone wants us to talk about, or whether or not our officers do the appropriate thing or not.
I would like to know the officer's side.
And again, my job and the job of our commissioners is to review these cases, to review the video, to review the footage, to review the police reports, to take all of that into consideration, and then make a ruling. And that's the job that we have. Most other communities don't have a police commission. Look at Newburgh, Poughkeepsie. And again, we are interested in reviewing this. Many of these cases have not been.
You've reviewed it already.
So the commission has not reviewed it. The commission just received these complaints recently. And so this is the first time that the commission is going to have the opportunity to do this. And so at this time, I am more than happy if Fabian would like to go ahead and discuss his case and what he believes happened out there on the street. But again, we can't talk about the actions of our officers in a public setting. And so again, that's, Commissioners, do you have any other thoughts?
Everything that Fabian has to say, everybody's aware of what his story is. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So Fabian telling his story, it's already been told. And everybody's here to see what's going to happen, what you guys have to say. Because the evidence speaks for itself.
Okay. And yeah, and that's what we're trying to say. Is that, again, Fabian is more than happy to tell the story with 45 people here.
They know his story.
I know, and so I can't talk about the actions of my police officers with Fabian, in an open public session.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, they don't work for you, they work for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They work for us.
So we're going to have a motion entering into executive session. Do I have a motion to do that? So we're going to move to conference room 2. You all can feel free to stay. We're going to go ahead and call in the individuals if they'd like to come in. All right.